Easter Sunday bombings were a very dark point. I was in the US, so I woke up to news of this on social media, and I thought to myself, this can't be true. How can Sri Lanka be going through the same crisis that I had escaped as a child in my childhood? I was running the Metro Dusseldorf Marathon in Germany. And it's a large international race. There was about 40,000 runners in that race. And I gave myself the goal that I wanted to do as best as I humanly could, because I wanted the world to know that Sri Lanka was not just a tragedy. I wanted people in Sri Lanka to have something to celebrate, and I thought that if that could be a small token of my efforts, which was doing really well in my event, that could be a small bit of hope in a dark time. I finished second in that race. I reset the Sri Lankan national record by 2 minutes, which is now the South Asian record, and it's also better than the Indian women's marathon record. Track and field has been in my blood, I guess you can say, from when I was a child. My dad competed for Royal College in athletics. He was a middle distance runner. He ran the 1500, the 800, and the 5000. I always tell people that I got my calves from my dad. I went to school here until grade 4, so I went to St. Bridget's Convent. That's where I first ran my first track and field race. But since then, when my family moved to the United States, I continued running, and I really found my love for running as a high schooler. So I was 15 years old and in the sport of cross country. From that day forward, I have been a lifelong runner, and I think that I will only be a runner going forward. I am a dual citizen. I have citizenship with the US and Sri Lanka, but I went through a very hard time to get citizenship with Sri Lanka. At the time, due to some regulations with immigration, they were not issuing dual citizenship with Sri Lanka. And so I missed out competing at the 2016 Rio Olympics and the 2016 South Asian Games for Sri Lanka, simply because of the fact that I couldn't become a dual citizen. However, thanks to my uncle and his mentor, we worked with the government, and when it was allowed to get dual citizenship, I was first in line to get the documentation necessary so I can represent Sri Lanka. 2017 was the first time that I got to represent Sri Lanka on the international stage, and it was at the 2017 World Championship in the women's marathon. And it was the happiest moment in my athletic career at that point, because not only was I getting to represent my country for the first time, but it was also in my favorite event, the marathon. I had high hopes for myself. I had set a goal of finishing top 30 in that race. However, due to some illness that I caught at the hotel and during the cafeteria at the meet, I didn't perform at my best, and I actually had to finish the race halfway. So I was really disappointed with my end result. As a high school athlete, I was very good at my sport, and I won state championships, and these are all things in the United States that get you noticed to get a school scholarship. And so when I accepted a full ride to go to the University of Kentucky, I had hopes for myself that I was going to be one of the best collegiate athletes in the United States. However, my story did not end that way. I had 5 years that I never set a single personal best. I couldn't even be one of the top 5 best girls in my team. And so that's considered varsity in the US. And so when I was not performing, my scholarship got taken away from me. And all of a sudden, I was not a good sportsman anymore, and I also didn't have the funding to go to a university. So I had to take a loan because I was dedicated and determined to finish my school. And I also told myself that it's okay, whatever phase you're going through now, you're going to continue to do it, and eventually you're going to find that light at the end of the tunnel. So I kept pushing, and once I graduated school, I found the marathon sport, and that's where my story took a turn for the better. So at the 2018 Commonwealth Games, which were in Gold Coast, Australia, I was the top Asian finisher in the women's marathon. I finished in 11th place. My timing wasn't great. Usually in competitive marathons, you don't run for timing, you run for place. But I was very happy with the place that I had, and I believe that was the highest finish in Sri Lankan history for a long distance runner. The heartbreak at the Asian Games is something that I'll carry with me for the rest of my athletic career. I had the greatest opportunity to run on the track. And running a marathon is really great, but when you run on the track, that's a whole new game, because everybody's eyes are on you every step of the way. And I had high expectations for myself to renew the national record, to place potentially top 10, as I had just done in the Gold Coast Games. However, due to some technical errors and some unforeseen circumstances, I wasn't at my best performance. And so the next time I step foot with the Sri Lankan flag on my chest, which will hopefully be at the South Asian Games, I'm determined to improve my result. The first time that I truly felt that I could be competitive in an international field was at the 2018 Houston Marathon. The Houston Marathon is a gold label race, which means they invite athletes from all over the world. So I was competing against Kenyans, Ethiopians, Americans, Europeans, and there was about 25 invited elite female marathoners at the start line. And at the time, I told myself that it would be just great that if you can finish top 20 among these really amazing women. And when I finished the race and I found out that I finished in 7th place, it was an aha moment, because I realized that if I am performing at my best and if I'm fit and I'm ready to go and I'm confident in my abilities, that I can be competing amongst the best in the world. My husband is a Venezuelan Olympian. He represented Venezuela in the marathon at the 2016 Olympic Games. He also holds several national records for Venezuela, and running has brought me a lot of joy in my life, but truth be told, I guess he's the biggest joy of them all. We met at the university and we have been together ever since. At the South Asian Games, my preference would be to run in my pet event, the marathon, but I would also entertain the ideas of running the 5 and 10,000 meter events. However, whatever event that I'm selected to compete in, I'm going to the South Asian Games to win. And I will not be happy with a silver or a bronze medal until I bring home that gold medal.
Subscribe to our YouTube channel for more videos like this. And don't forget to hit the bell icon for our latest content.